critical thing for rural women is to make sure that they're looking after themselves. As the expression, to make sure you've put on your own oxygen mask before you help other people. Being agile, not fragile, really means that you've got that, I guess, a suppleness and an ability to sway in the wind and not be blown over. I think it's important that we actually learn skills and techniques for managing the feelings that can sometimes be quite overwhelming, particularly when you're going through change and crisis.
In crisis there is opportunity. I mean, the classic example of that, I think there was more millionaires made in the Great Depression than any other period in history. Having something to strive towards and having that sense that you're moving forward with your life is very, very important for your well-being.
This webinar series is an opportunity to get some new tools, but also to look at, are you maintaining the tools you've already got? How do you be in a position where you can take advantage of what the opportunities are coming out of a crisis?
Not only giving people great information about well-being, but also giving them some great information about how to improve themselves professionally. People have shown remarkable agility to deal with extraordinary demands, but it's also important that while people are doing that and running on full revs, that they are looking after themselves at the same time so they can maintain that resilience over time.
I think one of the important things about this webinar series is that the people involved understand rural Queensland, they understand rural people. You can have privacy, you don't need to identify yourself when you're asking a question. There's lots of opportunities, but you need to look after yourself so that you can actually take advantage of those opportunities and be in a position to look after the people around you and make sure they're ready for them too.
Okay, well, thank you so much for being here tonight. I'm just going to share my screen. Hopefully that works. Share. Got a big blue screen, everyone? Okay. So getting the most out of the crisis, or a crisis, and where to from here. Crisis, what does that mean to you? Crisis, a time of intense difficulty or danger. And I am sorry, but I don't own a paper dictionary anymore, so that is from Dr. Google. But, you know, we've all been through that. Yes, it is. It's a time of intense difficulty, and it's something that comes from in many forms. Drought, COVID, death. There's so many ways that people experience crisis. Yeah. So this is when we get experiences of wanting to either fight, or that flight mode that we go into, and how we respond to these events is how it makes a difference in our week, makes a difference to our life, and it makes a difference on how we go forward. So many of our challenges are a reflection of the thoughts. And if we're in flight or fight mode, our responses are usually not the best place to be or best place to come from. A diamond is a chunk of coal that did well under pressure. It's beautiful. I love that quote, and I use it a lot when things are getting a bit hard or tough. And so I just wanted to include that tonight in the presentation. So let's get this done. Tonight I'm going to go over quite a few things that you may have already heard, because that's what we're about, and cover a few new things off. So we will get into it now. Jeff Olson is an author of a book called The Slight Edge. It's a book that I love. I have the CD of it as well. And his theory is that you work in 15 minutes increments. So over that period of time, we've learned a lot about time management over the last few weeks, goal setting and that sort of thing. But it's about finding the best way for you going forward. you know, you want to keep the momentum up of what we've learned. You want to keep rolling with it. And one of the ways I find, and the most successful way for me personally, is using this 15-minute increment procedure. So break your day into 15-minute slots. So what it is about is when you feel like you're bored, or you've had enough, or you're going to shift over to the next thing, or you know, stop yourself and go, look, I'm just going to do another 15 minutes of that. And can I say, I even use that in my household. So I use it for my laundry. If I want to walk away from the laundry pile or the ironing, I go, look, just give me 15 minutes more if I've got it there. And I just do the 15 minutes, and then you feel a sense of achievement. You've got so much done. Then it's like, well, let's just do another 15 minutes. So I bring that into my office as well. So that's how I work, and it's just another way of looking at things. So you can look him up, Jeff Olson. As Beck referred to in last week's webinar, eating the frog. So do the hardest thing first in your day, and then it sets your day up for much greater things. My reference is always doing the phone calls or the cold calling, or, you know, something that's going to makes you feel a bit weird or makes you feel a bit anxious. Do it first. It will make your day feel better. And if you have been doing that, just put comments in the comment box and we can go through those towards the end. But yeah, I'd love to hear anything you've changed in regards to that. Okay. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do to get done? As we've talked about over the last 7 weeks, set a networking challenge for yourself. So if you want to, you know, set a list of different types of networking you can do in your community, or even online at the moment, because things are, you know, there's so many opportunities online to do networking. So set yourself a challenge, whether you attend one new event a month. And as we've heard, you may go to a networking event that just doesn't feel comfortable for you. So that's where I say, if you're setting the networking challenge, then you can go and try different things, try online, in person, book clubs, whatever it is, and how you network, and really get that challenge happening for yourself. So I'm going to attend 1 or 2 meetings per month, if that's feasible in your community. And really set yourself that challenge over the next 90 days and see what happens at the end of the 90 days. You may have come up with 1 or no networking groups, or you may have joined 4 new groups. You know, that's what we need to do. Write a schedule. I really work on a waking hours schedule. So I have a schedule that I have drawn up from, you know, from when I'm awake to when I go to bed. Now, do I stick to it every day? No, I don't. And it is very, you really need to be conscious of the fact that if you do set yourself schedules and you don't meet them, it is not another way of beating yourself up. You know, as human beings, we can be quite hard on ourselves. This is not a tool for you to do that. This is just to keep you, or give you a little bit of guidance as you go along. So including that, some of the things we've talked about: sleep, diet, exercise, importantly, social activities, your family. If you have never heard of the Wheel of Life exercise, you can Google it, and it is a wheel, and it divides your life up into different sections. You can have a look at that and reflect on where you need to do your work, and that can come into your schedule as well. So we're going to work out what motivates you. So I did talk a couple of weeks ago about your why, and Beck spoke about it, referred to it again last week, and how important that is to keep you motivated in what you're doing. So make sure you've got that clear. Set your goals. Eat the frog. I'm referring to it again because I think really it can't be spoken about enough. Decide what direction you'll take, both personally and business-wise. So the webinar series has been a wonderful way to incorporate how business and your mental health and your well-being and all of those things come together and are combined, especially when we have our own businesses and we're small business owners, where it can become intermingled. So decide what direction you want to take. Do you want to grow your business? Are you happy with the way it's going on? Do you want to, really setting some clear direction for that? And also in your family life, do you want to spend more hours or 3 hours or whatever that is with your family? Are you happy to, for me, I'm nearly an empty nester. So going from having 3 children and being very full on to having 1, it's a great growing opportunity for me because I can spend a lot more time on my business. So of course my time has changed. But yeah, so decide what direction you want to take with those. Take daily steps to meet your goals. As we spoke setting session, breaking the goals down into those daily micro steps. So today could be to call 1 person, or like I spoke about, starting to work your way up to running a half marathon, walking 3 kilometres today and growing that. So breaking it down into daily steps so that it doesn't become an overwhelming goal and in a month it's like, oh, it's too hard or it's getting too close. Really get that as defined and nut it out as you possibly can. As Beck said again, thanks for the 168-hour reminder. It was a wonderful reflection on how we look at, 7-day week, 52 week year, but how often do we look at the 168 hours of that week and what can we do with that? So for me, that was a real mind-blowing event, and it's been great to reflect on that over the past week. So in regards to where we are at the moment in the community, if you do the work now while others are not doing it and you keep moving forward, then you will be a winner. Whether that's personally in your business life, however you choose to use that. Baby steps going forward all the time is the best way. We don't want to become the deer in the headlights, and we certainly don't want to just be stopped with fear. So in regards to that, coming back to the networking, always reach out and ask for help, because you have a community, as we've seen over the last 8 weeks come together, that people want to support each other, and with your networking groups, with the community you're building around these events, that can definitely happen. And be ready, because when things get back to, there won't ever be another normal that we know, but when things get back to that normal of everyone getting around and doing business, you're going to be prepared, you're going to feel calm and relaxed. So that's a really a great thing to do as well. Keep your focus. So it's very easy to have another gold, shiny object off in the right. I'm the worst for it, and I work very hard on focusing on that. So I did want to cover off on that, because it's easy to just go, oh, that looks exciting, or that looks exciting, and then we're not putting 100% into what we actually want to do, right? So do one thing at a time. That concentration is key. Remove any distractions. When you are working on something, turn everything off except the task at hand. So shut your Facebook down. Allocate times when emails are, like, you check your emails and respond. And as I said, make a schedule for your waking hours. Mine is reflexive, like exercise. Mine has family time in it, business time, family dinners, and also my own self-care time, which is extremely important. The next shiny thing will have to wait. So very much, as long as you're clear and you do the steps we've been talking about, then when the shining object starts to glitter over here, you can actually say, no, I've got my path, I know where I'm going. When I first started my first business, I had a lot of trouble with my mum, because I'd become self-employed. She believed that meant that I could have coffee anytime I wanted. And actually, although it was a difficult conversation, I had to say, well, this is when I work. Just because I work from home does not mean that I can just pop out and have tea or coffee or go to the movies. And it was a bit of training, but it was as hard for me as it was for her. And we got down and, I made it very clear that's when I was working. So there's some things you have to do. Be aware when the shiny objects come up, have the awareness about it. Take that next 15 minutes. Okay, well, I'm going to talk to Mum. Look, I'll ring you in 15 minutes. I'm just going to do some more work. If you have a tendency to do other things or wander off, it's a really good idea to set a timer for that 15 minutes or your, however you work, your 50 minutes, however you want to work, so that you're not going, oh, I'm going to forget that or I have to do that. So set a timer on your phone, put it behind you, get into it. And when the timer goes off, you're like, oh, wow, I've achieved so much by just focusing on that task at hand. It takes 21 days to change a habit, so it is going to be something that we work at every day. I work at it all the time, but that's the great thing because it's really cool to have that achievement. Okay, so getting a business plan ready, that is something that if you are choosing to do it, I'm just about to go through the steps of what you will need to put into it. So if this is something that you want to do, it's definitely important and valid. Again, you will probably do 3 or 4 of these before you feel comfortable and you've got it right, and just ask a trusted friend or somebody that you feel has got your back to read it and give you feedback, honest feedback, and you know, it'll be amazing. So it needs to include an executive summary, so briefly telling the person what company is and why it is successful. You mightn't have a company, it could just be a small business, that's fine. You know, this is XYZ Grain and Co. This is what I do. Yeah. Sorry. A company or business description. Do some market analysis if you're able to, and that can be just asking people's opinion. Even if you're at a camp draft on the weekend and that is your target market, asking them what they think about your product or what they think about, you know, what your service you'd like to offer, or even checking in on, this is what I do now, have you heard about me, things like that, and pop it into this business plan. And the business plan is something that's always evolving, because if you want to ever do any lending, you know, business, financial institutions will ask for your business plan. So it is a document that can support you quite well. How your organisation works. So for me, mine is sole trader. It doesn't have to be complex, or it can be as complex as you like. Obviously, with bigger businesses and companies and, you know, some of the properties that you guys are on, you are going to have a bigger system. Talk about the service or product line, so depending on what that is. Marketing and sales program. So marketing and sales is extremely important in all business. When it comes to your business plan, you can have a basic strategy. So if it's not where you come from, it's not your strength, don't get caught up in that. Just write down, it could be as simple as, well, my marketing plan is going to be, you know, if you're selling, show cattle, breeders, breeding stock, you could put, well, my marketing is going to be, we distribute flyers at ag shows, we have a stand at the regular yearly show, we're going to put our cattle into the ECA so they win ribbons, you know, because that's going to produce that exposure. And so it can be small bullet steps like that. So it really doesn't need to be too complex. If you're after funding, what you're looking for, what your expectations are, what you want, and financial projections are, you know, something that you really need to look into as well. So that's the really good, if you have the bones of the business plan with that around it and you build on that, you'll get your story happening and it'll just come naturally. And it is, if you haven't done a business plan before, it is quite complex to, not complex, if you don't know what you're doing, you know, don't let procrastination or fear of failure stop you doing this. Just get into it, have a go and show someone, as I said, that you trust, yeah? Fantastic. Okay. So the next one, self-care. Very, very, very important. We've talked about our health. We've talked about getting enough sleep, stress over the last few weeks, nutrition. All of those things are paramount to your well-being, but self-care is also there. And when we live extremely busy lives, working a business, running a farm, having some children thrown in or not, fur babies included, we do forget ourselves. So I did want to put in how important it is that we listen to ourselves. So in business or in anything, if you feel that something is a little bit off, maybe it's a business deal or someone wanting you to do something and you feel it's a bit off, take the time to, you know, just tell someone, look, I'll think about that, I'll get back to you, and go away and think about it and really listen to your heart, listen to your gut. You know, we all know that gut feeling that we get. Really listen to that before you make choices, because we have this inner ability, like the flight and fight, to question what we don't feel comfortable with, whether it goes against our values, whether it, you know, just doesn't fit with where you're going with your business or where you are personally. And it's okay to say no. It's a very hard thing to do, but it's okay to do that. So really listen to yourself. Continue to educate yourself. You are committing to you by turning up to these webinars. It's a commitment to yourself, and it's an amazing thing. Other things you can do, audio books, you know, we all know this, but I just want to revisit it so that, you know, it's in your mind as we're heading off and finishing tonight the series. But really, where do you want to go next? What do you want to learn about? Grab a book, get an online book, get an audio book, watch stories or movies around that, not movies, documentaries, but continue to educate yourself. If you don't like reading, you know, if you read 1 page a day, I usually fall asleep on the 5th page, you're going to have read 1,200 pages in a year. You know, that's 3 to 4 books. So it's not a lot that you need to commit to yourself, but it is something, you know, that is important for your growth. Take time to be grateful. So when things aren't going your way, or, you know, something is going bad and you are going through something like a crisis, whether that's COVID or drought or, you know, family emergency, I work every day in saying 3 things I'm grateful for in the morning when I wake up and just before I go to bed. Now, you can have a journal where, if you like to write and journal that, you can say it out loud, you can say it like a prayer before you go to bed, whatever that is for you. Just being grateful for things. And as I mentioned before, I do have some teenagers, so some days it's a little bit difficult to find those things, but some days it can be, I'm just grateful for the meal I had tonight, or, you know, I'm grateful that, you know, the dog was happy to see me. You know, sometimes it has to be that, and that's okay too. But just it changes your mind and how you're working. And when you're going to sleep like that, it's a really beautiful way to go to sleep. And when you're waking up, it's a great way to start the day. So that's what I do. But however that works for you, again, it's all personal. Dance or change your physiology. So another tool I use, well, I love dancing, and so another tool I use if I'm having a bit of a bad moment or something is get up out of your chair, go and put some music on, if that's your thing. Dance around the kitchen. The saying is dance like no one is watching. I like to sort of think about, and I've seen it online, dance like you're a 3-year-old. You know, that there's just no care in the world. If that doesn't work for you, then have a go at some star jumps or something to shift where you are and what you're focusing on. And your brain is just going, what's happening? I don't understand it. I'm feeling sad. And what are you doing to me? And it will change what's going on for you. Listen to podcasts. There's some amazing podcasts out there, and I know that there's been a few going around in the groups the last few days. I know there's some people on here who do podcasts. They're amazing. Follow them and read a book, which we've covered about. So yeah, that is self-care, and I'm sure in the box I can see some stuff coming out which we will go through, but definitely looking at we'd love to hear from you on how you self-care as well. Okay, so difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations. I've lived that. I'm sure we all have our own stories of that. And I just wanted to finish off on that because I just think it's beautiful. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to go through the questions and what we're going on in the comment box. Okie dokie. All right. Okay, it's been really valuable during COVID to have telehealth, just a lifesaver, because I didn't have to drive 5 hours to take someone to specialists. COVID has catapulted telehealth. Yes, it has. Telehealth. Since finishing all farm work, I have to explain to people that I'm still working. I still work being on the land. Yeah, 100%. Remember not to take feedback personally. Allow feedback to help you grow and pivot your ideas. Absolutely, Susan. Feedback, as is failure. Failure is feedback. That's it. Failure is learning. There's just no negative in that. Sometimes people might give it to you in a negative response, like they might be cranky at you, or they don't like the way you speak or a statement you've said, and that's okay. Just don't hold that. Take the feedback and let go of the emotion that person has brought with it. Have planned better eating. For me, it's going to the optometrist, asking people, asking for help. Absolutely. My daughter and I always ask each other's best and worst thing for the day. I love that, Cassandra. Another tool, if you do have children or you do live in a group of people, is having like a bowl and writing down each day something nice about the other person. So Tracy is caring, putting it in the bowl, and then when people are having a bad day, so everyone goes and grabs a piece of paper out of that bowl. They can't see what it is, and they read it out. It's a really good check-in tool. Self-education is critical. For me, it's a major source of ideas, inspiration and motivation. Helps refine my what, why and how. You love it. Best podcast I found, conversations with Richard Fidler and Sarah Kanowski. Amazing. Richard Fidler, love his work. Amazing. Garden is great to change my physiology. Would love time to read a book, maybe this weekend. Heather, 5 pages, not the book. Start with 5 pages. Oh no, can't hear Peppa Pig. Sorry, Trace. The issue practice, telehealth. Doctors all need to be aware of their patients. Yeah, so there's a bit going on about that. Might get you to talk about that, Tim, after. I get really enthusiastic, agree 100% with Anne. Childcare, changed my week last week. Perfect. Okay, so are there any questions or anything we want to go over from tonight, or anything from the past? Because Tim, Susan and Tracy are here to answer anything as well. If you'd like to pop it in the box or unmute yourself, we'd love to hear from you.
I just remember Lisa, a comment that was made back when, when the financial crisis really hit and everything started to implode toward the end of 2008. And I remember some leaders at the time that I was talking to, they were saying, what's the opportunity? What's the opportunity? And I thought that was really interesting. I mean, obviously they were talking, what's the financial opportunity in the market? But there were also business opportunities. What can we work on now we couldn't do before? And I think it's the same in our life. I mean, I must admit that I think, with the circumstances of my life, with a young child at home and I guess doing a lot of work with women all over the state, I didn't mind so much that I couldn't go to events in town because it just gave me more time to get some things done. So there were some real advantages for me. And having a 2.5-year-old on a cattle station is like being an ISO anyway.
Yeah.
So I think there are opportunities.
I agree. When the financial crisis hit, I just bought a catering business in Brisbane. And the catering business was for corporate catering.
Wow.
There was no budget in anyone's corporates for catering. So it is about diversifying. Like you said, doing these Zoom meetings, like what your business was 2 months ago. Can it be diverse? Can you diversify it by online? So whereas like I used to do a lot of meeting people face to face, predominantly my business now is either on Zoom or travelling out to a town, like travelling to Charleville and participating in things out there. So my business has pivoted, and it is a great way to do that. So how can you diversify? What is it for you that you've done? And by attending all these different things, you're going, that might work for my business, or how can I do that differently? And it's a massive conversation, but the networking is something that can help that grow, because people start to go, I need this, and you can see the little openings and the little bits of light where you go, yes, I could change my business and pivot it into that little niche that's missing, where the light's coming from. Absolutely agree, Tracy. Anyone else?
What do you think, Tim?
Well, I was just going particularly about the question about the doctors needing to be aware of their patients and their health through a phone or a screen may miss some signs, and that's very true. But I think the other side of it we need to remember is that telehealth over a phone has been used for a long, long time. So just getting symptoms over the phone. So we've certainly seen a huge improvement there. So certainly for remote, I mean, I think that's been a really positive thing. You're right. It probably does increase the chance that, some symptoms might be missed, but certainly overall, it certainly is a lot, it's certainly very much superior to what's available over a telephone. And a lot of medicine has been done over the telephone for many, many years. And look, most of the time it's worked out quite well. But I think maybe we need to see that as an improvement rather than a negative, I guess, because it really has improved our ability to provide medical care remotely. So I guess that's one of the things I'd say, particularly for remote care. It is quite a game changer, really. But you're absolutely right. There is increased risk of missing certain symptoms, but it's certainly a huge improvement.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to thank you so much for listening to me tonight. And Tracy, if you wanted to do I know you've got some things to do. So I will mute myself. Can't.
Mute. I might just hand over to Susan. Susan was just going to talk about the series generally and give us a little bit of a wrap up. And we did have a survey we'd love you all to hang around just to complete for us. We'd be really grateful for that. I might just post the link. Do you want me to do that, Susan? Just at the bottom.
Yeah. So thanks, Tim. He palmed this one on to me about the 8 series wrap up.
There's this
only an hour before we started. So being the psychologist, you're supposed to alleviate the stress, Tim. But look,
I'm
Pardon? Anyway, look, I've really enjoyed this, and I hope everyone has too. I think it was mentioned tonight in Lisa's session that, you know, you really have made an investment in yourself and your time by turning up week in, week out. And, you know, this is all for the benefit of not only yourself, your health, your family, your lifestyle, and even in your business. So we've been provided with lots of strategies. And again, as Lisa mentioned, don't beat yourself up to get these integrated into life straight away. It's remember piece by piece, day by day, and from there it'll be onwards and upwards. So from a health professional point of view, my biggest encouragement to you all is to basically hone in onto your own self-care, and Lisa referred to that again tonight as well. Nothing more important, because you know, you're the one that's responsible for putting on your own oxygen mask. And you know, if your cup's overflowing, energy's gone, well, you're no good to anyone else. So you number one, oxygen first. And also basically to practice those 4 pillars of well-being: the sleep, the nutrition, the exercise, and the social connections. It's inevitable also that we're all going to get the wobbles at some stage, but with all these strategies in our toolkit, adjusting ourselves may become a little bit easier, we hope. So remember to look beyond the weeds, and to wherever you're headed, like, look with clarity by setting achievable goals. So tweak your values, find your why, find your tribe. It's okay to say no. We've been given that permission through this series. And so appreciate we all have the same amount of hours in the week, but it's up to us about how well we can utilize that time by managing yourself, not managing the time, which again takes discipline. And that's a bit of a dirty word in my vocab. I'm not very good at it, but so that's my, I've got to work on that. What else? So we navigated through what it may seem as one crisis to the other. It's not always bad. We've got to look for those little golden moments, and this will pass when we need to be agile again. We're not, you know, to be able to sway in the wind. So if we can manage to prepare ourselves to think positive, think strong, think clearly, and persevere, but always have your oxygen mask handy. Personally, I would like to thank both Tracy and Tim. It was a real privilege that Kewan came to Sisters of the North to help put this presentation together, this series together rather. And it's a privilege also to be involved with a brand such as RFDS as well. So I was lucky enough to be in the position to introduce to you all Western Queensland PHN, Northwest Remote Health, as well as being trusted organisations in healthcare. Even though these services are probably more, well, they're from Western Queensland, there's going to be health services in your area. So again, putting yourself first, find that health professional that can help you, that you connect with, and make sure that they put you at the centre of care and are willing to work with other health service providers as well. That's your right, and that's their responsibility. So be sure to complete that survey. I think it's there in the chat box ready to go. Because we need relevant and honest feedback to access further funding grants. So if this is what you're wanting to hear more of. What else have I got written down here? 8 weeks. Well, obviously you've been an incredibly engaging audience. And look, I'm really going to miss my Tuesday night dates, I must admit. It's been really nice. It's been really nice seeing familiar faces, familiar names, and you know, there's long-time friends, new friends. So I think it's been a really intimate but not invasive weekly meet. So thank you. And look, from my office to your office and your home, may you all just be blessed with good health. And from here, like, onwards and upwards. It's a jungle out there, but I think we've got some pretty cool tools in our toolkit to yeah, just to march on. So good luck, everyone.
Thanks so much, Susan. And look, I certainly echo everything that Susan said, and please definitely let us know what you need.
The critical thing for rural women is to make sure that they're looking after themselves. As the expression, to make sure you've put on your own oxygen mask before you help other people. Being agile, not fragile, really means that you've got that, I guess, a suppleness and an ability to sway in the wind and not be blown over. I think it's important that we actually learn skills and techniques for managing the feelings that can sometimes be quite overwhelming, particularly when you're going through change and crisis.
In crisis, there is opportunity. I mean, the classic example of that, I think there was more millionaires made in the Great Depression than any other period in history. Having something to strive towards and having that sense that you're moving forward with your life is very, very important for your well-being.
This webinar series is an opportunity to get some new tools, but also to look at, are you maintaining the tools you've already got? How do you be in a position where you can take advantage of what the opportunities are coming out of a crisis?
Not only giving people great information about well-being, but also giving them some great information about how to improve themselves professionally. People have shown remarkable agility to deal with extraordinary demands, but it's also important that while people are doing that and running on full revs, that they are looking after themselves at the same time so they can maintain that resilience over time.
I think one of the important things about this webinar series is that the people involved understand rural Queensland, they understand rural people. You can have privacy, you don't need to identify yourself when you're asking a question. There's lots of opportunities, but you need to look after yourself so that you can actually take advantage of those opportunities and be in a position to look after the people around you and make sure they're ready for them too.